So tomorrow is my 29th birthday. And I'll tell you, I don't feel old, but it's hit me a little bit. Welcome back. My name is Nick, also known as Dunnderhead over on Twitch. Today I'd like to share 29 real life tips that I've picked up over my time here on Earth. Now, realistically, none of this is going to be absolutely life-changing for any of you, but I would really like to share this information because it helped me a lot, and I hope that it helps at least some of you. Now, number one is pretty simple. It's go to the doctor. I promise you, it's not going to make you weak. Go to the doctor, get a checkup, take care of your health. Take it from somebody who didn't and is now sitting in a situation where I have a possibly permanent injury because I waited 2 years before I went to a doctor. Go to the doctor. Number two is to pick up a creative hobby. It doesn't have to be art. It doesn't have to be you drawing or shooting photography. It can be writing. It could be doing anything that just makes you feel creative. Woodworking, designing clothing, learning how to knit or sew. There's so many possible opportunities, and realistically, even in a situation where you don't have a hobby that really feels creative, if you try new things and put your own spin on things, that's you being creative. So look for a creative hobby. Number three is that time is the real currency. You're going to feel like you're wasting your time on so many things, and you're gonna wonder where time has gone after a couple of years. In my case, yeah, I'm only 29.
29?
Over the past 3 years, I've noticed that time has just started to speed up, and it feels like I'm just losing time faster, if that makes sense. When you go to work, you get paid for your time. So when you go to pay for things at the groceries, you're paying for those things with your time. Ugh, I gotta get off the floor. Now, my next one is try to live a little bit more for the moment. What I mean is try to live for memories and stories. That's a very convoluted and very open-ended kind of thing to say, but essentially what I'm trying to say is when you're out and about and you're just trying to have fun with your friends, try to stay off your phone. Stay in the moment and exist with those people in a way that's going to just allow you to remember those things. Save some memories. Don't live in the future. Don't live in the past. Live right now. Day to day, as it were. Number five is failing is learning. If you don't fail, then you don't learn the wrong way to do something. And that's an extremely important way to find out what works and what doesn't. There's the whole concept behind the scientific method, which is all about trial and error. And when you're trying to find the answer to something and you find out something is wrong, then you go, okay, that didn't work. Let's try this instead. And when that doesn't work, you try this instead. Eventually, you start to learn patterns and start to learn how things work and how things don't work. And the more things that don't work, you know that there are going to be less things that you have to try that will work. That was probably a terrible way to explain that, but it's the best I got. Next is to set goals that you can control. Even if they're small ones throughout the day, these are things that you know you're going to be able to keep in control by yourself. You're not relying on somebody else to get something done in order for your goal to be achieved. This can really matter for someone in content creation who is trying to reach a certain follower goal or a certain subscriber goal. And you're asking people to subscribe, but you don't actually have control over when that happens or if that happens. Speaking of which, next is you might know less than one person, but you also know more than another person. And what that means is that there's always someone to teach, but there's always more to learn. That's a huge deal, especially when you're feeling really discouraged about how you are trying to get this one thing done and you just don't feel like you're caught up to everyone else. But there are people who aren't caught up with you. So teach people that know less and just continue to learn more. Next is invest in more knowledge and more skills, and the money will come. A good example of this is building your resume up. Building your resume up allows you to be able to be more valuable to a company that is hiring you, or just more valuable in general, and having more skills, more knowledge, certifications, licenses, just makes you stand out in the crowd. Number 9. No one truly notices your insecurities, nor do they care about your insecurities, unless if they're someone who is also insecure. In other words, don't care about other people's opinions, because your opinion is the only one that truly matters. Number 10, take more photos. Now, this might be a little bit counterintuitive to number 4, which was to live a little bit more in the moment, but it's also at the same time similar in that aspect. We're only on this planet for a short amount of time compared to what we truly feel. There are people in our lives that we spend time with, people that we care about, people that we actually have a limited amount of time together. If, say, you only see your grandparents twice a year, how many more times do you have to actually spend with them? Now, this is a fairly philosophical and kind of a not really a dark question, but it's definitely a question that really got me thinking about how I need to spend more time with people. I want to talk to people more often. I want to save some more memories. It's one of the most important ones on this list. Number 11, there are 1,440 minutes in a day, so don't let one lousy minute ruin the other 1,439. Try to move past the thing that bothered you. That one hate comment on a YouTube video, that one thing that a coworker said that seemed a little bit off, that idiot on the highway who wouldn't let you merge. These are all little things that aren't worth wasting your mental energy on or stressing over. Don't let something like that ruin your day. You've got a lot of better things to do. Next is not everyone needs therapy, but everyone can benefit from therapy. Now, I can hear some of you in the comments already saying, no, I don't need therapy. There's nothing wrong with me. I'm totally fine. Wrong. I promise you, everyone, every single person has something wrong with them, something that they need to change, something that they're not doing right. How do I know this? Because I was the same person saying that exact same statement. There's nothing wrong with me. I'm totally fine. And I had a lot of things going on that I was doing the wrong way. Everyone's doing something wrong. You may not feel like you need it. You may not even want it, but I promise you, you can benefit from it. You could learn something that can change your life. Next is, don't confuse hope with magical thinking. These are two different things that I struggled with, which was I believed that I had hope, simply having faith in the things that I was doing and expecting good things to come out of them. But in reality, I wasn't really doing enough. I wasn't really doing anything. That is magical thinking, is expecting something to happen when you're not doing the things to make it happen. So I want you to remember that a goal without action is just a dream. And if you're not actively pursuing that goal, it probably will never come. Next is, progress is a lot like allocating skill points. You're not going to make linear progress on something. You are constantly working on different parts of your life. You're changing the thing you're doing even throughout your day. You're not doing the same thing 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So ultimately, when you're working on a new skill, or when you're working on changing or breaking a habit, it's a one at a time thing. You got to get the experience before you can level up. And when you level up, then you can allocate those skill points into, okay, I've made progress here. The greatest way to explain this is you go to the gym, you work out, any form of exercise. You're not going to get better unless if you focus on that exercise. But focusing on that exercise isn't going to make you better at art. Practicing art will. Where you make progress is all about where you spend your time and what you spend your time on. You need to allocate those skill points, allocate that time onto the thing that you're working on, the thing you're trying to change, and put the points where they matter. Number 15 is worrying about looking stupid is keeping you from becoming something great. I'm the perfect example of this. I'm actively making a whole bunch of YouTube videos that realistically are probably going to get very little views compared to what I would like them to get. And the reality is, I could stop. I could stop right now. I could just turn this off and not continue. I keep taking these weird angle shots and whatnot, but in reality, I have no idea how to be a videographer. I have no idea how to be a cinematographer, but I'm doing it so that way I can learn. And if I were worried about looking stupid, then I wouldn't be doing it, and I wouldn't be getting better. I wouldn't be improving. So yeah, the reality is I might look kind of dumb, and I might not enjoy the things that I'm doing because I'm not getting the results that I want. But if I don't do them, then I'm definitely not going to get the results. And the truth is, every hate comment I get is just fueling the fire. Every hate comment, every person who says, well, that was a waste of my time. Thanks for the view. Thanks for the comment. Thanks for feeding the YouTube analytics robot. In summary, looking stupid is for other people to worry about, not for you. I gotta get a new battery. I've been filming a lot more than usual today. Number 16 is you're your number one priority, and you should be your number one priority. That's why I'm taking a break. Being your number one priority is so important in today's day and age, and it's just always been important, but we've all been told to be people pleasers and care about other people's feelings, and especially from those of us who come from a religious background, at least for some of us, we were told to give and give and give to our fellow man and make sure that they're okay and make sure that everyone else is good before you make sure you're good. And the problem with that logic is that there's no time or energy to take care of yourself when you're too busy taking care of everyone else. I can tell you this, it's not selfish to make yourself the priority. The only time and the only exception to making yourself your number one priority is when children are involved. When children are involved, they're the number one priority because they don't have a choice to be able to control their own lives. But when children aren't involved, you're the number one priority, because if you're no good to yourself, then you're no good to anyone else. The next one on my list is to learn to understand money. When you start to understand money, it's no longer as much of a problem in your life because of the fact that you're dealing with something. This bowl is not clean. Because you're dealing with something that is simply a tool to make more of it. A great example of this is investing. When you invest money, money makes more money. Your money makes money for you. It starts to work for you. The next example is taxes. Taxes, to a lot of people, are a nightmare, and for good reason. Taxes are there in order to solve some problems. Now, I'm not going to say that our society and the way that we do things with money isn't broken, but when you look at money in a completely different light, in a way that is going to make it seem like it's more your friend than not, then you'll start to notice when things that things get easier when you start to understand money. These salad kits, I'll tell you, normally I don't buy things to make a salad because I forget about the stuff and it goes bad. But these things, they're really nice. It's not very expensive. I just put it all in the bag. And when I'm done mixing it, I've got a salad ready to go. This one is Bacon Thousand Island. My girlfriend got me hooked on this. Unfortunately, not everything likes to come out all the time. Can't forget the tomatoes, for those of you who don't know. I'm slightly allergic to tomatoes, but I'll eat them until they put me in the hospital. This salad is really meant to be for multiple people, but I eat like multiple people, and this is a lot better than me eating a whole box of mac and cheese like I used to. Number 18 is you always have a choice. And those choices may not always seem like good ones. You do always have a choice. This is gonna blow up on me! Bomb defused. Back to the topic at hand. You always have a choice. They may not always be good. They really may not be the ones that you really want to make, but you always have one. I could have chosen to grab that soda instead of this. I could have chosen to have a box of mac and cheese to myself instead of a salad. Or on the other side, I could have chosen to not eat at all. Sometimes we come into life where we've got so many choices that we can't decide. At other times, it feels like we don't have a choice at all. But I promise you, you always do. You could choose not to show up to work, and there are consequences to that. You could choose not to show up. You could also choose to show up late. You could also choose to show up on time. You could also choose to show up early. You could choose not to pay your bills. Then you don't get the things that you are supposed to be paying for. It's cause and effect. There are consequences to every action, every choice you make. And when you make choices, those consequences could be good or could be bad. You always have a choice. Number 19 is buy more things used and refurbished. This is not only going to save you money in the long run, but it also is going to help the planet by not having a whole bunch of things end up in landfills because people are buying everything new and throwing out all of their old things. The big one I can recommend is buy your technology used and refurbished. It's a lot cheaper on Amazon. You can find a lot of websites where you can buy things cheaper. My phone, for example, I got this for $298 on the used market, all because it has a little ding on the corner that I was going to cover with a case anyway. And the best part is that it goes typically for $500 or $600 brand new. The camera and lens you're looking at me through. The lens I got for $530 when it typically goes for $600. It's not a significant amount of money that I saved, but it would have been $620 for shipping. The camera itself I got for $700 as opposed to the MSRP, which is $899, I believe, when it was brand new. This is not large sums of money that you're going to be saving, but overall, I'd rather pay cheaper for something that's refurbished and I know is working than buy something brand new and waste an extra $100, $200, $300 or more dollars on any of my camera gear. Now, this is probably not news to a lot of you because some of you definitely go shopping at thrift stores. I love shopping at thrift stores. And especially, don't worry about buying name brand things. But if you can find name brand things on the used market, that's fantastic. This one is probably going to hit a little hard. You are loved more than you'll ever know. I learned this rather recently. It was a video that I watched. If I can find it, I'll link it in the description. And it goes on to explain that even a stranger that sees you passing on the street might find something about you unbelievable. There are little things that we don't hear, we don't see, that people don't tell us about how they think about you. That's not limited to the bad things that they think. That's also the good things. Sometimes people don't think to tell people those things. This is extremely prevalent when it comes to guys, especially due to stigma related to guys telling each other they love each other. I make it a point to tell my boys that I love them. It's extremely important to me because some of them, I know one of them in particular, I won't go into that, never heard his father say I love you. And I know that that's a reality for a lot of people. You could be sitting in class with someone who thinks that your laugh is adorable. You could be hanging out with a friend of yours who doesn't really know how to express in the words of how deeply they appreciate your friendship. Someone could just simply appreciate the fact that you put a shopping cart away at the grocery store because someone left it out in the middle of the parking lot. This is a tough one because you'll never know. Number 21 is you're allowed to spend some money on yourself. In moderation. You have a hobby. You have something that you enjoy doing, something that keeps you sane. You're allowed to spend money on that thing. As long as you're not overspending, your bills are paid, you're not putting yourself in a worse situation, spend a little bit of money. Go buy that piece of clothing that you really like. Go buy that magic card that you really want. Speaking to myself a little bit here. The truth is that there's always more money. You can always make more money. You're allowed to spend money on yourself because those hobbies and those things that you do, those things that you spend money on for fun and for keeping yourself sane are part of what makes you you. It's part of your identity. It's part of who you are. It's part of how you get about your day and how you make it through your day. Some of us, go through our workday and go, I can't wait to get home and do that thing. Create that new piece of art. Get out and shoot photography. Build that new puzzle. It's a huge part about what makes us us and about what keeps us going. Is having something to do, something to pass the time that we're here on Earth with, something to allow us to train our brains and allow us to be creative. You're allowed to spend a little bit of money on your hobby. Just don't overdo it. We kind of already hit on 22, but we're just going to make this one really quick, and that's just spend more time with people you love. We have a limited amount of time on this planet, and so does everyone else. Don't miss out on times to care about those people, because if you do, you're going to regret it for the rest of your life. This one I know is going to hurt a lot of feelings. Your feelings, your opinions, don't truly matter to other people. No one's actually required to care about your feelings. You're not required to care about anyone else's feelings. The only time that your feelings are cared about, or someone else's feelings are cared about, is when you or another person chooses to care about said feelings. Number 24 is take care of your feet. A weird one, don't get me wrong. Think about it this way. Your feet are the roots to your body. If your roots aren't strong, the rest of you isn't going to be strong. Your feet are so important, and take this from somebody who had to stand at attention for way too many hours of his life. When you're standing there for long periods of time, you start to notice how much your feet actually matter. My feet are in constant pain. I've just worn the bottoms of my feet out, and I have to wear very specific kinds of shoes and be very picky about my shoes and insoles. Otherwise, I'm not going to be comfortable. If your feet aren't taken care of, if your feet are injured or whatever, you're constantly limping throughout a day, that causes issues on the way up. All the way up your body, that's going to cause issues. You limp on your right leg because your right foot hurts. Well, now your left side has to work harder, and now you're going to be unbalanced. I know this personally. I have a hip injury that has caused back injuries, that has caused me to have a lack of balance. And even without my hip injury, because of my feet being as bad as they are, it's probably going to mess me up in the long run. So take care of your feet. Now I'm going to come sit down for the rest of these because these are the real heaters of this topic. These ones in particular, these last few tips, are probably going to hurt some feelings, or they're going to bring up some emotions. They're not all really that bad, but these ones are serious, and they're things that I wish that I really knew before I turned even 25. Enough rambling. Number 25. This one's tough. No one owes you anything. The world doesn't owe you a damn thing. Some of us grew up with a victim mindset. Some of us are still living in that victim mindset. No one owes you a thing, because the reality is, back to you always have a choice. So do other people. Other people all have a choice as well. And the thing is they can choose not to pay you back or repay you. Essentially, don't expect anyone to give you anything. Don't expect anything from anyone, anything at all. And along the same lines of not expecting anything from anyone, go and get it yourself. You're going to feel way more accomplished when you start getting things and you start earning things instead of things being handed to you. Number 26, this is a big one. This is a biggie. Your feelings are valid. Your behaviors are not. You're allowed to feel angry. You're allowed to feel upset. You're allowed to have bad days, but you're not allowed to be a dickhead. I, for the longest time, was an incredibly angry person. I talk about that a little bit in my last video. It took me a long time to get past that. You're allowed to feel sad. You're allowed to feel angry, but you can't let it take over your life. You can't let it control you, and you can't act out on it. This one was an extremely tough one for me to learn. I felt really butthurt after that session in therapy. This one's not going to tug the heartstrings very much, but this one's very important to me personally because we're all struggling out here. Money, taxes, credit cards, debt, they're only scary because you don't know enough about it. Now, I'm not going to say that your financial situation is better than you think it is. I'm not going to tell you to go get a credit card. I'm not going to tell you to go put yourself in more debt. I'm not going to tell you that your debt isn't dragging you down. But what I am telling you is that once you start to understand something, it's not as scary anymore. Now, I'm not an expert, especially not a financial expert. The more I started to learn about money, the more I started to understand my money, the better I felt about it, the less I feared it, the less anxiety I had around it. Now, don't get me wrong, I still have a lot of anxiety around these things, and I still have just a lot of anxiety. But my point is, these things are only worth fearing because you don't have any knowledge in the area. My prime example is credit cards. I was terrified of them. I knew people who had $12,000 worth of credit card debt. That's terrifying, especially at like 20 to 30% interest. Knowledge is extremely important. Having a lack of knowledge is what's putting you in a worse position than you've been in. Now I can't live without a credit card. I truly have not used my debit card except for the 1 month that I was dealing with my identity being stolen. Not saying to go out and get a credit card. Again, don't take this as me telling you that you need to go out and get a credit card, but this is me telling you to go do your research so that way you can understand things better and so that way you fear money less. The second you start fearing something less, the more you start to know how to use it to your advantage. Money is a tool, not a toy. Number 28, and this one is a banger. I'm proud of myself for this one because I wrote this one in my journal a couple weeks ago. It just kind of came to my brain. Be every part of you in every place you go, in everything you do, with every person you're with. And that will bring you more happiness than anything else in this world. True happiness, in my opinion, is just being able to be allowed to be you. Now, that might come from my lack of confidence, my lack of self-esteem, because I just want to be me, but I'm afraid to because of anxiety, because I'm afraid to be judged. And it's the same for a lot of you. The minute you decide to start being yourself in everything you do, every place you go, with every person you're with, you'll start to feel it. My prime example of this is I was in the military. I was a residential youth counselor for problematic teenage boys. I was a photographer. I was an artist. I was a streamer. And in every area of that part of my life, every aspect of my life, I kind of had to be a little different for each area. I had to be a soldier. I had to be a caregiver. I had to be funny to be a streamer. I had to be professional to run my business. And with all of those things, I forgot how to just be me while I was doing those things. I decided to stop trying to be something else, trying to be Endless Media or trying to be Sergeant Dunn or trying to do these other things, trying to just be something that I wasn't. And I decided to be the one thing that I want to be, the one thing that I feel like encompasses me. I'm a gamer at heart. I'm a nerd. I'm a Twitch streamer. I want to be these things. I want to be Dunnderhead, and I am Dunnderhead. And that makes me feel so good to be able to say those things. As much as it's probably not the most professional, I wasn't allowed to really be Dunnderhead as a soldier, and I wasn't really allowed to be exactly me at work, I'm still me, and I'm still Dunnderhead. And I'll live like that, because it makes me happy. All right, and finally, number 29. The big 29. Can't believe I'm turning 29. Number 29. You guys hear it a lot. I say it a lot. If you're trying to improve, then you are improving. This is a life that we're all living. This is a life that is a struggle for everyone. I don't care how old you are, how young you are, what gender you identify as, what gender you are, where you live, how much money you have. You could be a billionaire. You still have problems. It's hard enough out there. You're just bullying yourself, saying, I'm not improving. I'm not getting better. I'm not making progress. As long as you're trying, then you are. Because there are some people out there who aren't. They're not trying at all. Some people know that they have things to change, that they are doing something wrong, and they don't care. They're okay living like that. But if you're trying, then you're improving. So I know this was a long one. I apologize for that. I hope you guys got something from this video. This is a large culmination of just things that I've learned. But I hope that even in the next year, before I turn 30, I am learning new things that I can share with you then. I hope you're learning something too. So with that, that's all I've got for you guys today. I hope you guys learned something, and I hope that any knowledge that I have is useful to even one of you out there. If I can even help one of you, then I'm doing my job. Otherwise, I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Have a good one.